Welcome back to Theology for the Unwanted. I'm Dan Tilson, your host. Here on the show, we're talking with Catholics who have yet to feel fully at home in the Catholic Church. That's a lot of you. And we worked through some good issues together. Over here, I have my co-host. This week, we have a little bit of a special introduction for him.
Uh-oh.
John, you've lived many lives.
Have I?
Yeah, you're a pilot.
Yes.
Yes, yep. You are a chef sometimes.
I do enjoy cooking.
Yep. At this point, you're at risk of me putting everything out there that you don't already have on your dating profile.
Oh, gosh.
But this week happens to be your birthday.
Oh, yeah, that is true. That is
Happy birthday, John.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
From me and all of the listeners at Theology for the Unwanted, so grateful for everything you do to make this happen and for making the show a little bit more funny.
Hey, I do what I can. And as always, I'm honored to be a part of the project here and the growing community trying to make not just our church, but the world a better place too.
Heck yeah. You and I just went out to get dinner, right? And there were these two Mormon...
I feel like we need to say where, because I feel like whenever people have a discussion about religion, let alone a Bible study, they always go to this restaurant. Because I've never seen a Bible study take place in public anywhere else but this restaurant.
This Panera Bread had at least 3 Bible studies happening while John and I are talking through much raunchier, difficult Catholic issues in the corner. We're so grateful for everyone that reaches out with your questions and your stories, because we want to make sure that you feel heard, and we want to make sure that the things we're talking about on the show are relevant to you. And sometimes when the table next to you is like, yes, and Jesus is Lord, we can't be like, well, he's divorced and has 7 children, and now he's, Anyway, it often goes like that. Catch us at your local Panera, where we always plan.
Yes, where we always plan and have our trusty old pick 2 meal.
So today we had 2 Mormon missionary young ladies sitting next to us. It must have been their first day.
It had to have been.
Right? Like
rookies.
Walk me through the experience.
First, they
just exude innocence.
We accidentally took their table. We didn't realize the water bottle underneath the table that we sat at was claimed.
They literally left their car keys on the table and then walked away.
Which, look, Northern Virginia is a safe area, but it's not that safe.
Yeah.
So we moved. Obviously, we were like, okay, someone has this table claimed. But they came over. They were bright. They were full of energy. Unlike us, where we were hungry and lacking energy at that moment. So the story goes, they made a phone call to, I'm assuming is their elder in the Mormon church, because someone gave them $100 in total, both of them $100 for food. And they didn't know, and this was really cool because it came from a genuine place. They didn't know if they had to tithe that $100 that was given to them as a gift.
Meaning give, I believe, 10%, right?
10% to the Church of Latter-day Saints. And part of me really appreciated that moment, because I think for a lot of us, we take for granted, remembering what it was like to be that on fire for your religion, you're really gun-ho and be like, oh, I just got 100. Dan, if you and I, someone gave us $100, we're not gonna be like, how much does this go to the church? I'm gonna be like, how do I pay more bills with this? Right. And they were just like, oh, do we need to give to the church? And they called their elder, and the elder's response was brilliant. Was no, I tried not to eavesdrop, but it was really hard not to. The elder was like, no, you don't need to tithe, but make sure you use that money for what it was given to you for. Because they were also talking about going thrifting afterwards.
Yes.
But he said, no, they gave it to you for food. You should use it for food. You get your groceries next week with it. And I was like,
and since they suggested that they were good on groceries, he goes, then buy a lot of cookies.
No, he said make a lot of cookies.
Oh, okay.
Buy ingredients and make a lot of cookies, which I love me some cookies. As long as they're snickerdoodle, I'm there.
You didn't see this, but on the other side of the restaurant, they were asking the staff to walk them through all of the drinks in the fountain, because they wanted to make sure that they weren't getting something with caffeine.
This is how I could not be Mormon. I love coffee and caffeinated beverages way too much.
Yeah, I have been twice the daily recommended dose of caffeine just today.
That's it?
You surprised?
No.
Okay.
I mean, kind of. I'm surprised it's not more.
All right. So, Father Mike Schmitz, beloved, very, very well-known evangelist. So he did a video recently where he's talking through the Mass. It's a teaching Mass. So it's not actually, it's not actually happening. He's demonstrating. And it's a good video. It's an important video. But, you know, I'm listening to it and I'm like, this sounds like when you're on Delta Airlines and they're giving the emergency, briefing before.
As we walk into the church, we don't just kind of slide into the pew.
Yeah.
Please remind yourself as you're walking down the aisle, white lights lead to red lights, which indicate the open pews.
Oh, man. Actually, someone suggested that my boss, because she always has a line of us that need to talk to her, that she gets one of those confessional lights. I don't think that's a thing in Europe, but it is here in DC. And in fact, where I grew up, in the confessional, the only way to light it up so that people would know it was occupied was if you were physically kneeling. Like it was a sensor pressure.
Yeah, there's one here locally, actually about 2 miles from where we're recording that still has that in place.
Okay.
That you have to be kneeling for the light to come on.
Well, let's just be clear. That's a modern invention. So on today's episode, I'm thinking about me back when I was in college. I was a
liturgy geek.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I had to jump in there. It was this old habit.
I love the liturgy. I was on fire for it. I was so judgmental.
Oh, yes, you were.
And it's funny because there is another one of these young college students that has a 4 or 5 month old social media page dedicated to talking about the Mass. And he's actually done fairly well. Like a lot of the people that follow us also follow him. The main difference is he can take his shirt off. John, you and I are not taking our shirts off for the audience.
I mean, we could. I think the problem is we would lose followers instead of gain them.
No, it happens in your 30s. What can I say? Right? So anyway, last night he was doing a video about the Mass and his shirt was off. He was at the beach and
where all the best masses take place.
He got 13,000 new followers just from this video. And I laughed because I looked at his story this morning and it was like, wow, all for the honor and glory of God.
I'm not going to go there.
So anyway, this is a show for people who don't take their shirts off to talk God.
For those of us that have more than 7% body fat.
I know, right? That's basically all of us. But I was thinking back to the way that I would talk to people about the Mass when I was in college. And I was really fixated on it's this unbloody representation of Christ's sacrifice, and there's adoration and thanksgiving, and you're going to learn atonement, and you're going to learn petition to God here. These are all concrete theological terms that I now know because as someone who has in the later years felt so unwanted in the church. I realize just how not shallow, because these are very important things that we're not going to set aside, that they need to be balanced out by understanding the liturgy is supposed to touch us in our lives. It is supposed to reach our vulnerabilities, all of the things that we're anxious about, upset about. The liturgy meets us there and it transforms it. So I'm hoping that today we're going to talk through some of the things I didn't hear in Father Mike Schmidt's video. And quite frankly, and some of the teaching masses I've seen right here in this area, we'll talk through it. So we'll talk through this like levels, right? I guess what do you think a level 1 recognition is? If someone walks into a Catholic church and they don't know what's going on, what's that level 1? Like, okay, we're here. What are they seeing?
The materialistic element of the church.
Yeah. So like, what's that? Describe that in
pews, stainless glass windows, maybe a tabernacle, or if it's one of those built in 2022 but looks like built in 1742 style parishes, maybe a candle or two. What you would just consider your stereotypical things you see in a church.
Yeah, and specifically during the Mass, you're going to see what looks like bread.
Yeah.
Looks like they're pouring wine.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like people are praying around this stone thing. Like these are real observations. These are real starting points. So Aquinas, I guess, would say these are level 1, right?
Surface level.
But not bad. We're not turning that out. Like we start there.
Correct.
Level 2 is where I was at in college, where I wanted to really emphasize what is the quote unquote real, right? What is this? What's happening? The problem is, as I've gotten older, I've realized that Jesus didn't necessarily create the Mass because he wants us to just constantly keep alive this unbloody representation, right? Yeah, do this in memory of me, but why? but why? And I think we've talked about this on other episodes, but the resurrection,
Mhm.
did it happen?
Yes.
Okay. Well, great.
Was that
Not a trick question.
Was that a real question?
It was, but
hold on a second.
But let me ask this. Is there an expiration date on it?
No.
Okay. So in Catholic theology, would you say that the resurrection of Jesus Christ is an event that is still happening today in 2026?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that Benedict absolutely loved to write about. He would say the incarnation as an event, right? Jesus Christ being made flesh as an event. We are still living in that moment today. But what is the purpose? In other words, but the way that I left it in college, where I just focused on, all right, guys, we're doing adoration, thanksgiving, atonement, petition, we're just like checking the boxes. Let me ask you this. If every mass in the world stopped tomorrow and there are no more masses, does the resurrection expire?
No.
Does the incarnation of Christ stop being an event?
No.
No. Okay. So there must be a different or deeper purpose, ultimate purpose, I guess you could say. Aquinas called this the res tantum, the real ultimate reason. And whereas I focus on what is real, level 3 is more like what is experienced. You as a human sitting in the pew, what is experienced? And so we kind of talked about our ideas of what the mass is and what it's like. So if we were to put aside just for a hot second the realness of all the things, the representation of Christ's sacrifice, what is it for? Do you have any ideas?
So that would be for the renewed capacity to forgive.
Yep, that's definitely one.
Right? Praise. We have the capacity to praise.
Capacity to praise, yeah.
Yeah. And the capacity for thanksgiving.
Yeah, so I mean it's for us, right?
Yeah.
It's not God trying to make sure that we're still paying attention to him. It is God trying to renew our capacity to forgive, right? Yeah. The cross, all about mercy, all about forgiveness. And so the Mass is the training ground, getting us ready. And it's also what keeps us united as a community. So, all right, we'll say these 3 things. It's the ultimate purpose that I think about now in Mass is our capacity to forgive, our capacity to praise God, and our capacity to be thankful, to give thanks. Okay, you have a good idea of what a pre-Vatican II church looks like, right?
Yes. Long hallway.
Okay, give me some vivid imagery here.
Pillars,
yeah.
Stone, marble, rock, candles, lanterns. Gothic. Yeah, you think Gothic architecture style is what usually comes to mind.
Okay, so we are not, just to be very clear what I'm about to do here, I am not asking you to recreate your ideal Catholic church.
Okay.
I am not asking you to be an architect or to do something new.
I don't think you've seen how many hours on The Sims 4 I have building houses.
Okay, great. Well, here, I'm going to toss you a piece of paper. All right. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. And on the back of that, take this.
I got it. I have 5 pens here.
You're going to have...
Okay.
My pen's better.
I disagree.
You're going to have...
My company paid for this pen.
20 seconds to draw the ideal Catholic church based off of specifically this brief. So the question is, if you were designing a church for the following functions, you are trying to help people renew their capacity to forgive, trying to help people renew their capacity for praise, and trying to help people with their capacity for thanksgiving.
Okay.
Ready and go. Okay. It looks like right off the bat, it's a box-shaped church, except the pews, as you're drawing them, you're making a semicircle. Okay. And the altar is towards the back of the church with the semicircle pews around it. The stone altar, however, John, how would you describe it? That's right in front of...
it's like
and pens down.
Okay, pens down. So that portion right there is you have a portion of the altar area going out like an aisle towards the pews that are in round, is what we call it, in round, surrounding that area.
Okay, thank you for the technical explanation.
You're welcome, my pleasure.
All right, explain to me, how or why do you think that a fan-shaped area creates a better environment for teaching people how to forgive?
So forgiveness is how do we learn how to forgive as a kid? We're going to break this down to as a kid. How do we learn how to forgive as a kid? We're told what forgiveness is
Yeah, we're watching. Yeah.
by watching.
Yeah.
So in this design, in this setup with all the pews in a half circle facing towards the altar, no matter where you sit, you can see the community you're with. And it's all focusing on the altar where the ultimate sacrifice for forgiveness occurs.
Okay. Understood.
So you see forgiveness in action as a community.
And to be clear, as I gave you that brief, I wasn't necessarily saying we're setting down like the pre-Vatican II stuff. We're trying to balance it out.
Correct.
So we're going to assume that this is somehow still a beautiful, pretty church and not just a round box.
Pretty's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen some pretty modern churches that people are like, ooh, this looks great. And I'm like, ooh, this looks like someone should have said no to this design.
And on that note, how does your design increase the capacity for praise?
Praise is joyful. Praise is something that comes from our soul and out in verbal cues or in song, right? So for praise, it's easier to praise together with a community. So if you're one of those people that maybe you don't like singing too loud, maybe you don't like saying the prayers too loud, or God forbid, the priest decides, you know what, we're doing Gregorian chant all mass today. And you're just like, oh, great, I can hold one note and that's all I can do. When you see a community doing it, when you're part of a community, the sociology aspect behind it is the more likely you're going to take part in it.
Okay, fair. And for Thanksgiving
dinner, do you do that by yourself or do you do that with friends and family? You do it with community. You do it with people around you. When you give Thanksgiving, it's greater thanks to give when you're with a group of people, especially people within your faith community.
Well, I guess it's not like when I sit in row 8 on United Airlines, I'm right behind that bulkhead. So I'm in the economy section, but I'm looking at a wall. So I can't.
But you have more leg room.
I have more leg room, but I can't see anyone behind me.
I don't think you want to, though.
No, and that's precisely why I pick row 8 is because I have a wall and then I can't see anything behind me. And so I'm not bothered by it. But with this, it like gives you a little bit less of a hiding space when it's a semicircle.
Correct.
Okay. So
Jesus doesn't want you to hide.
Was it your intention when I asked you to draw this? You were like, I need the most Vatican II church ever. Was that, are you just?
No, it's
the brief.
Yeah. I mean, it's that and years of event planning, trying to set events up, like what gives you the best sightline, the best focal point, the best sense of community and impact on what you're trying to do. There's a lot of things that go into it, but yeah, essentially what you want to do is you want to spotlight something. And that something is what takes place at the altar, and you want to do it in a communal sense. And the best way to do that is when you can see the community and not be blind by, a really poor setup where you can't tell you're with community.
That's true. And when you were designing the book launch for Theology for the Unwanted, you actually, it's so funny, you were walking me around the room and you're like, and here, they're going to check in and then they're going to want food. And so the food will go here. And then they're going to want to shake hands and mingle. So we need this space to be open.
It flowed.
There was a flow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because from start to exit, you had literally planned where are people going to move about the cabin, right? So that's kind of what you just did here. You took the mission brief, which was the level 3 understanding of the ultimate purpose of the Eucharist, and you turn that into a building. What I find interesting is the example that I was hoping for. Here, I'm going to pass you this. Okay.
Get it?
You see, I have 2 churches here.
Beautiful churches.
The church on the left is in the 18th century, so it's very much set up for the traditional Latin Mass. This is the cathedral in Montreal, Canada. It's beautiful. It's a quasi replica of St. Peter's Basilica, except it has something that St. Peter's Basilica could never imagine. What are they?
A Canadian accent. No, that was not the answer.
Try again.
Pews.
Pews, yeah. Guys, the earlier Christians did not imagine in any way setting up a theater for us, right? It's not a movie theater where you like walk in, you're like, oh, I guess I belong here, you know? The earlier churches, one, everybody was facing the same direction, meaning forward. It's not like priests looking at us. I'm not trying to get into an argument about that. What I'm trying to say is the altar was not flat against the wall.
Correct.
Like it was in the traditional Latin Mass. It was a little bit further out and closer to the people, and the people would mill around.
Yeah.
Right. You would walk around. There's no sitting or kneeling. In fact, kneeling was actually prohibited on Sundays, most Sundays. It was prohibited during the Easter season for a few centuries. The point was you were to stand at the posture of the resurrection, which is standing, and you're hanging out with your buddies. It's like a gathering.
Well, we talked about it before on earlier episodes. The church was a communal space for the community.
It doubled as a community center. So
Yeah.
it's not like you would have a town hall or a debate or something going on at the same time as the Mass, but they were in the same space. And yeah, people would bring their dogs to Mass.
Which they should.
Yes, you're Franciscan. I get
Sorry.
it.
Okay.
So on that note, this is one of the things where I think the Protestant Reformation actually brought some good stuff of value to the architecture of the church. Because John, when you converted, I know you really like that structure.
I needed structure.
Okay. Pews bring that structure.
Yeah.
Okay. Pews are inherently not Catholic. Just to be very clear, they
Or
are
comfortable.
They are not a Catholic idea whatsoever. The idea where you kind of segment people off. I mean, yes, you have the altar rail in the sanctuary, but pews assign us and kind of lock us into a specific place. But when we're talking about liturgy, I mean, the body is basically the vehicle for the soul. Okay? It's how you walk around. And so the Mass in itself, literally from when you're outside to walking into the dark entrance, and then it kind of opens up and there's this beautiful marble floor, you're on a sort of mini pilgrimage, right? So in high school, I remember walking into a party and then inevitably there's that drama and you're like, man, I love hanging out with my friends here, but I really would prefer if we moved to the other side of the room to avoid that person.
Yes.
Okay. You had that freedom weirdly in the earlier Catholic Church, right? You had to be at Mass. Everybody was at Mass. That meant from rich to poor, from the most popular to least popular person, they are there together. And on this pilgrimage, it's creating it's a unity that humans would not have thought to create for themselves, which kind of speaks to the purposes of the Mass that we were just talking about, like that level 3. So the pews, though, they create some sort of like segmented, like here is your space. You get 2.5 cubic feet of space, and this is where your spiritual encounter is going to happen.
It's 2.5 if it's not when it's not Easter or Christmas.
That's
when
right.
it is, you get like 1 cubic foot of space.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, the air conditioning's out every
Easter and Christmas.
By the way, did I tell you that I broke the air conditioning at my parish 2 weeks ago?
That does not surprise me.
No. Well, what should surprise you, or maybe not because it's an Italian parish, is some of the pipes are exposed and they're on the floor in the kitchen. So as I was loading stuff in for homeless ministry, I stepped on one of these pipes and cracked it, and quite a flood happened.
Oh my.
Yeah. All of the individuals that I work with that are homeless, they came to my defense. They're like, we didn't see nothing.
I love that. That's great.
And I had to be like, no, guys. And then, of course, after I stood up for values and principles of honesty, I then had to tattle on myself and be like, please don't charge me too much. But yeah, the Holy Rosary is fixing it. Next time, cover up the pipes. But here we are. So back to the point.
Wait, how old is that building?
In 1921.
Okay, so they didn't cover pipes back then. You can't get on them for that.
Okay, but they put in a new refrigerator and they could have done something. Anyway, pews restrict us. Okay, I am anti-pew. I don't like pews. They're not Catholic. I feel like I could win if that were the only argument that people accepted. However, they do give some structure. But What do you think? Do pews have any bad side to them?
I mean, anytime you have a congregation of people, society and sociological elements come into it, right? So if you don't have pews, you're still going to congregate in cliques or small social groups where you're standing. But in pews,
You're locked in.
You're locked in. And also, it's a little bit more intimidating, I feel like, right? Like if you're new to a parish and you arrive like 5 minutes before mass starts and you're looking for somewhere to sit and you have all these pews with these chunks of opening, but like you see those obvious, the Tuesday Rosary Club is in the first 3 rows on the left side. You have, the youth group in the first 3 rows on the far right pews. You can see where these cliques are, and you start to ask yourself, well, wait a minute, where do I belong?
Like it's a ranking?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, let's be real here. I want to ask all of our listeners, when you walk into your parish and you look for a place to sit, let's say you're visiting somewhere, where do you automatically get drawn towards? Right? Are you one of the people that are very confident in your faith in what you're doing and you go immediately to that front pew? Now, a lot of you probably just got like that really nervous tick go off in your body and you're like, absolutely not. I don't sit front pew. I would rather sit in the middle or towards the back because that's where I feel more comfortable. Why do you feel more comfortable sitting in the middle or the back? That's a question you should really ask. And there's a reason for that.
I'm in the choir loft.
You are in the choir loft.
Which means I am hiding, but also I can see you.
Out of sight and out of mind, but I'm watching.
Oh, man. All right, let's talk about what happens right when you walk in. You got that sacred silence.
Yes.
Now, again, level 2 would be it's a private moment to fix yourself, to enter into prayer, to put yourself in that right mentality. Honestly, that's all I was ever taught in grade school growing up, is this is a moment to put yourself in the right headspace for Mass. That's fair. That's part of it. That's not the ultimate reason for it. The ultimate reason is to prepare yourself for this banquet. Now, I think that here in America, we have an allergy to calling the Mass a meal, a sacred banquet.
Yes.
And part of that is because when I look at the culture around the world, many other places, food is sacred, right? A banquet in itself is sacred. I mean, if you try to order a cappuccino after 11 a.m. in Italy, they will say, vai via, exit. and not politely either.
Or they just call you American, one of the two.
Yeah, I know, right? Or an Aperol Spritz after 7 p.m. That's a no-no.
You're guilty of that one.
So things have their meals. They have their proper place. They have their proper timing. There's this cadence to it, right? Like if you were to go to a 5-star restaurant and you sit down and like course 1 comes, and then as soon as you take your singular bite, because we know that they only give you 2 bites per course.
For $30 a plate.
Yeah. They take your plate away and put the next one. Take your plate, put the next one. It cheapens it, right? So there's this communal aspect where you walk into the church and we are called with our bodies to create silence, a communal group think silence, which I think, as you noted before, it's impressive, right?
It's powerful, really, when you think about it, right? If you put yourself in this situation, so in your mind right now, think, what is more impactful? Being in a church where you are the only person in the church. It is quiet. You can hear the crickets. You can hear the wood squeak and creak, but you're the only person in there and it's dead silent.
That makes sense. I would actually be alarmed if I were alone in a church and heard a voice.
Exactly. Or is it more powerful to be in a packed parish where everyone at the same moment is creating silence?
That creates the unexpected.
That creates the unexpected because you're not used to a large group of people being silent. You're used to a large group of people being loud and talkative. But when they're quiet, it has more impact.
And again, I want to say that what we are called to do is level 2 and level 3 at the same time. So yeah, it's a private moment to put yourself in the right headspace, but you are generating that in communion with others. It's not about the you. It's about generating a group readiness for a sacred banquet. And if you're in a restaurant setting, it's not like where you're at McDonald's where it's like, get your crap and go. a restaurant is going to have this cadence, right? And like the longer you wait for your meal, you're in anticipation,
Mhm.
maybe just shy of being like, where is it? I need it now, That is what the silence is supposed to do. It's supposed to prepare us as a group for that. So there's a lot of discussion online and arguing about posture. Okay.
I would argue there's too much discussion about posture online for this.
Where do we go with this? Do you want to talk about the Our Father?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do
So,
that. That's
all
the
right.
popular one.
Here's, I guess, the level one thinking is you walk into a Catholic church for the first time and you're like, these people are standing up, sitting, kneeling, standing up, sitting, kneeling. And there's this cadence to it, right?
Catholic
So-
aerobics.
Catholic aerobics. Again, Catholic anthropology, the body is that vehicle for the soul.
Mhm.
So when you're kneeling, you're inherently receiving, right? You can't charge at someone, you can't attack someone.
Correct.
You're only receiving. It's a defenseless position.
Mhm.
When you're standing, it's the posture of the resurrection, but it's how you navigate space. Okay, your feet, you are representing your soul on a pilgrimage, on the move. And as far as the Our Father goes, a lot of people like to do what, John?
Hold hands.
I can't stand that, guys. I mean, and we're not judging, right?
We're completely judgment free.
I just don't like holding hands during. It's just not.
Even when I was a Protestant,
Yeah.
I hated holding hands. I like even, and it's not a knock on anyone. It's just, I don't know. Like, I understand the symbology behind it. Obviously, it's community. You're praying together. And kind of like you talked about with the open floor plan of a church, it creates community. You're standing next to someone who may be rich or poor or better off or off worse than you currently are in your social status, right? You're all equal in that moment. And you're holding hand. It's a visual and physical representation of community and praying together in communion with our Lord. And I understand that, but I don't want to hold your hand. I just don't.
Oh, man. Well, there was a video there's this cooking priest, Father Leo.
Yeah, he spoke at Mason.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
And some of his videos are excellent, and others I'm just kind of like, you're getting a little political, dude. I didn't think his reasoning was super good in his video on what people should do during the Our Father, except that I agree with him. The best posture is probably having your hands folded in prayer.
Which is what I do.
Exactly. And it's another way of saying, don't touch me.
Yes.
But dive into the theology of it. Well, actually, let's set the stage.
Okay.
Before Vatican II, what are you doing?
I'm setting the stage.
Oh, sorry. John has his hands out in the Orens position.
No,
they're like the praying.
They're it's the Italian onion position.
Oh, okay. They're very close.
One's closed hand, one's open.
Setting the stage. For several centuries, the Our Father was something that was said by the priest. Okay?
Yes.
The priest presides at Mass, so anything the priest does or is reserved for the priest, we call it presidential, presiding. Okay. Since Vatican II, the Our Father has become something more filial. It's about that relationship.
Mhm.
It's something that we're saying in community together. So when you look at the theology of how it is that we communicate what our souls are doing during the Mass, Aquinas says that the whole purpose of our postures and our positions during the Mass, it's to incite the soul. It's to awaken the soul, right?
Mhm.
So what we're trying to do is an actuosa participatio, actual participation, and it's where you are in the pew and you see yourself as a singular cell
Mhm.
in a much larger organism.
And
Makes
not
sense?
all cells touch.
And not all, yeah, this is so true. But the point being is that we often, in most cultures, share the same posture at every part of the Mass. And that is because we are trying to show that we are a single organism working together to express what our soul
Mhm.
is trying to do in the Mass.
Yes.
So on that note, it weirdly makes sense to me that some cultures are like, let's hold hands. Okay. Actually, it makes even more sense when you think about this came about right after World War II. Right? You get the world barely kept itself from blowing up. Barely.
Yes,
And much of it did blow up.
yeah. A lot of it did blow up, yeah.
And now the Our Father is being turned over to the people, and your goal is to be one organism. That is the theology you're being told. I can absolutely see why they're like, let's hold hands.
We need to establish community again, like especially after war, where it's so easy to feel divided.
Yeah.
You need to find a way to build community, not just in the church, not just in the parish, but in community too.
It also doesn't surprise me that that tradition has not passed on as faithfully to our generation because we don't know war.
We don't know war, but we do know pandemic.
Right. And not all cells touch during a pandemic.
Yeah, well, especially when they're 6 feet apart from each other.
Yeah.
Or watching virtually online.
So the other one that Father Leo complained about was the orans position, which is, can you demonstrate that for? Yeah, you're holding your hands out, facing like palms forward. Look, when I visit the catacombs in Rome, I see this everywhere. Okay, there's lots of it. So don't tell me the Christians weren't doing the orans position.
Mm.
That, if you look at the anthropology of the hands in the Catholic faith, the hand represents your dignity as a rational, dignified human subject of God. Okay, so you can use your hand to attack someone, to shake someone's hand, and to make a deal. You can put your hands up and surrender, which is like kind of the gist of that orans position that some people do during the Our Father. The thing people get upset about, and that way, let's be very clear, I got upset about in college, like that position is reserved to the priest.
I think I remember making you making that argument back in the day too.
Yeah, I was an angry one.
It was righteous anger.
I don't know about that because, there's a lot of ways to make the Mass a show, right? And one way is you do weird stuff.
Yes.
Okay, you distract. Father Leo is like, please don't do the orans position. It's going to distract. Please don't hold hands. It's going to distract. The other way to make the Mass a show is if you're kind of like me on the extreme end and you're judging everyone around you or policing to make sure that we are all doing what is precisely correct so that we can represent the sacrifice of Christ. Okay? That turns it into a show of contemplation. And so we don't want to get rid of the focus that, okay, when you have your hands raised in the air, that's a petition because it's expressing the intention of your soul. We don't want to get rid of the idea that when you're kneeling, you're adoring. Okay. But we have to balance that out with the actuoso participatio as well, which is the actual participation of the people and what it is that their soul is trying to awaken to at that moment. You got to balance both. And of course, we focus so much on the sacrifice element. When I was in college, I was just only focused on the sacrifice that I forgot the Paschal mystery is also the resurrection, which has not expired.
Correct.
Okay. Let's talk about one more. The breaking of the bread. And this also goes into receiving communion. So when you got that...
What was that?
Those snapping of the...
I was going to say, is that the sound your car makes, but you don't have an engine because you have an electric car.
Okay.
So
Can you do a better Eucharist snapping?
No, I can't.
Okay.
My sound effects soundboard is not working today.
All right. So that was a whip. No one's whipping you with the Eucharist.
That's a
and that's the sound of confession.
That is the sound of confession.
Okay, so I focused on the fact that even when the priest breaks the bread into all these tiny fragments, that Christ is within all of those fragments, all of Christ, totus Christus, within those tiny fragments everywhere. And so I would be very cautious about, is someone taking the host back to their seats, or are we dropping the host on the floor? And these are level 2 observations. Go ahead.
It's like that one Eucharistic minister that like eyeballs you to make sure you put, like if you receive in your hand.
We're trained that way.
And like they give it to you and like their neck jolts out a little bit if you take a little too long and they start watching. Yeah. So there's that. But actually what that reminds me of, right? So you're talking about how like you had this reaction to if someone took too long to partake of the host, right?
Yeah.
And every crumb is sacred, right? And that's fine. That's great. I love that. And true. It reminds me of this event that happened at one of the parishes here locally. And this was years ago. One of the priests was walking back to the tabernacle after communion and tripped over his vestment.
Mm.
A common problem, I guess. But he tripped and he fell forward. He caught himself, but the host went flying.
Dude, on the first day of high school, I tripped up the stairs and all of my textbooks went flying as a freshman.
Not quite the same thing, because I bet you did not have a lady in the front pew, veiled, who was sitting down. You talk about the church is not theater. I present to you this lady.
What happened?
Who stood up, gasped with the force of the winds, threw her hands up in the air, and quasi fainted back into her seat in the pew as the hosts went everywhere onto the ground and into the planter that was on the altar.
Was it like one of those blow up things outside of car dealerships?
The wacky, wavable, inflatable ornament? Yeah.
By the way, for our listeners in Canada and in Europe, that's a cultural thing for you to look up. Please do.
And yeah, we have a lot of weird things here in America. So the host goes flying everywhere, and like a couple of the Eucharistic ministers go up and they help, pick up all the hosts, make sure none of them are laying on the ground or still in the planter, and the priest is picking the host out of the soil in the planter, and they're putting them back in the tabernacle. And like, there's people that are like concerned, there's people that are like anxious, and the priest, after he sits down and prays and stands back up and turns his microphone back on, he goes, ladies and gentlemen, I understand that for some of you that may have been very traumatic to see, but I guarantee you the Lord has been through worse than being dropped on the floor in the planter. And I was like,
honestly, that you're a seasoned professional priest when your mistakes set you up for an on-the-spot homily.
Boom. It was, and he already gave one. We got homily 2.0. It was great.
So the level 2 observation of breaking the bread is that the complete undivided Christ is in every single particle. True, right?
Yes.
Now let's balance that out. Level 3 observation. What does it communicate to the human bodies? What is the experience when that snap, crackle, pop happens at the altar? I'm not going to do the sound effect again. What does that communicate to the human bodies?
So the first thing that comes to mind is like the story of like the fishes and loaves, right?
Yeah.
You're breaking bread. You're giving it to beggars. You're giving it to people who are hungry. It's feeding the masses. It's symbolic.
Yeah. And then, each of us are feeling some sort of incompleteness.
Yeah.
So even when you receive the Eucharist, you realize, okay, you've got this like little jagged edge of it. Here's a weird thought for next time you go to communion. Do you ever wonder who gets the second half of your wafer?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to think of that now.
I want you to think of that because, yes, all of you have Christ, right? But like the point is there's an incompleteness.
There is.
You have this incompleteness that is only satisfied with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by the way, that's just Aquinas. That's Aquinas' thought right there.
Wow, Aquinas might actually have a point for that.
Spoken with the scorn of a true Franciscan.
Look, I'm just trying to say Aquinas is okay, I guess.
So I guess to bring this full circle, there are so many people on social media right now that are talking about, what's in the Mass and why it's so important. And that's beautiful because I think all of us start off first and foremost with this level 1, right? Like you walk into a church and you're like, there's a man dressed funny at the front and he's got wine and he's got bread and you got these people that are, kind of cult-like because they're saying the Our Father in unison. That's a level 1 realization. Start there, right? Christ is working through the realness of the presence of the people, of the signs that are there, the bread and the wine. But specifically, liturgy is the soul moving through the body, through our actions. And that's why we have all these different postures. Level 2 is like, what's the realness about it, right? Like what did Christ do? What is it that we are called to do during the Mass with adoration, thanksgiving, atonement, petition? But that's not the ultimate purpose. Because remember, if the Mass stopped tomorrow, if there were no more priests magically overnight, it would be a tragedy. But the resurrection of Christ would still be an event that is ongoing. Christ gave us the Mass for us. It is for you. And this is where I feel like if you've ever been judged in church and you're like, it really sucks to be here, I want you to realize, okay, the joke is actually on the people who don't have that level 3 thinking yet.
Yeah.
Right. because you know, after listening to this episode, you know that by being at Mass, the ultimate purpose is renewing your capacity to forgive. It's renewing your capacity for praise and your capacity for thanksgiving, but together with the community that is willing.
Yeah.
Together with the community that intends to be united. You know, we've talked a little bit about the SSPX, you know, the Traditionalist Latin group.
Mhm.
And I think you've corrected some people before. They weren't.
I've corrected a lot of people on this.
So I guess here's the headline, right?
Yeah.
Pope Leo excommunicates Traditionalist group. Correct
Wrong.
that. Go.
Wrong. It's SSPX excommunicates themselves from the Catholic Church. Vatican confirms.
By stepping into the room. This is for any Catholic who has felt unwanted. And by the way, including those who love the Latin Mass. If you have ever felt unwanted for any reason, just by stepping into the freaking room, you already belong.
Correct.
Okay. There is this embodied participation that bypasses all the emotional noise, all the social media, all the shirtless people that are doing evangelization online now. And you belong because you are desiring that unity with Christ.
Yes.
Along with those around you. If you ever decide that you are not seeking that unity, right? If it is no longer so important to see yourself as one cell in this larger organism, that's the moment of excommunication.
Correct.
So for anyone that is trying to push you out, you can just say, hey, that's not how that works. I'm here for mercy. I'm here to renew my capacity to love God and to love others. So with that knowledge, I hope that as you continue to see people on social media who get you anxious about your faith, who maybe make you feel like you never were Catholic to begin with, to know that you belong. And John and I still every single week are so grateful for all of your messages, to hear your stories, and just know that the two of us are there to walk with you, not only when we're preparing for the show from Panera Bread, but throughout the week. We're praying for you. We want to walk this journey with you. And until next time, this is Theology for the Unwanted.